Hello, running friends. Welcome to episode 7 of The Tale of the Trail, entitled Prepping for Relaunch. Yes, indeed, finally some real, as opposed to virtual, events are appearing at the horizon. The final weekend of October will not only feature Ultra Trail Chiang Rai in Thailand this year, but also Ultimate Trails of Penang in Malaysia, Vietnam Jungle Marathon, obviously in Vietnam, and Ultimate Saigo in China, although that one is still to be confirmed. 3 or 4 events in one weekend is of course not ideal for anyone, but what is normal in this special Corona year? At least we can look forward to some great trail action again, and as we announced in August, ATM Championship and Grandmaster Quest points will be scored in the relevant race categories of these events. Before we bring on our first guests of the show, a quick note on Hakuba Trails, the Japanese event that was set for 18th of October. For those who might be wondering now, the popular 50k race around the ski resort near Nagano will only allow a maximum of 200 local runners, and following a mutual agreement, the race will therefore not offer any ATM points, but will return as normal on our calendar next season. On the other hand, the Japan Super Trail, Izu Trail Journey, will be held with a solid field of domestic runners and will give Japanese runners a great chance to collect points for the merged 2020-2021 ATM Championship on 13th of December. Mr. Tatsuo Chiba will tell us more on that in our show today. With all that being said, let's get started.
Wake up to these better days. No clouds, just sun on my face. Flowers grow through the cracks in the pavement.
We're going to talk a little bit about the next race that is on the calendar, and that is Ultimate Trails of Penang. And we're very pleased to see that also Seow Kong has joined us again for the second time on the Tale of the Trail. Welcome, Seow Kong.
Oh, thank you. Hi, everyone.
And also Mark Jimin is staying with us on the show because we will have a chat about UTOP. Seow Kong, you had to postpone UTOP by another 2 weeks, but at the moment the race is still on, right?
Yes. As we have announced before, we have received the so-called no objection, kind of a letter from our, what do you call that? Majlis Keselamatan Negara. It's a National Security Council or something like that. National Security Council. At first, we got a reject. And just a shorter one-day event instead of the original format. So we are quite happy to get the approval. At least something is going on, this year with UTOP.
Exactly.
And then we have also been interviewed by the special branch of police, and then I think that has gone well. So we expect to get the permit as well from the police. So according to our understanding, we should be receiving our permit from the KBS, our Ministry of Youth and Sports Commission, anytime this week, or if not, next Monday. So because we have already paid the money.
Yeah. So if I understand correctly, today it is still not yet 100%.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I haven't sort of until I have that permit in my hand, or on my WhatsApp screen or in my email, I wouldn't say it's 100%. But at least, we have paid the application fee and things like that. So going by past precedents, that is more or less quite pretty assured. Yeah. Okay, and so far we have heard of no objection, or things like that. Yeah. We have even been told about a date, like within a week, that kind of thing.
That's all good. Seow Kong, you are known as a very meticulous race director. You pay a lot of attention to the smallest detail. So how difficult has it all been now so far to get UTOP to happen?
Now, this being a shorter one-day event, with 12, 20, and 40. So we have added additional SOP safety measures to do and all that thing, and we are quite glad that we have this guidance from the internet ITRA,
ITRA,
that we can use it as a reference. So because the whole event, the number of participants are much less than before.
200, right?
Well, in fact, you'll be looking at 400. It's not so much smaller, but at least it's only over 1 day and over a shorter distance.
So the maximum race
is much more manageable than before. And because in the previous year we did not have the 12 kilometer, so the numbers also come a little bit from there too. So, and 12 kilometer there's only one checkpoint, and then it's home straight all the way to the finish. So it's much more manageable. But I think it's important for this event to go on. Maybe the first running events and actually, in Malaysia to happen. So we are also quite glad that we have been contacted by the RTM, the Radio and TV Malaysia. They are going to come to this event, and also to take the video footage or shoot at this event. So it will be recorded. So probably it will be they are interested in how we are conducting our race, how we are going to execute our various SOP and all that thing. So so we better look good in front of the camera.
Absolutely, and Mark will also make sure of that, of course, for Asia Trail Master. Mark will be joining YouTube for Asia Trail Master.
Yes.
So basically, you had to reduce the distance from 100k to 40k maximum.
Yes.
So what kind of important sections are still in the race now, and what kind of sections have been left out?
I mean, for the 40, I think the most important one that has been left out is the location, the starting and finishing venue. That has been kind of like shortened, from the youth park inside. We moved that out to the botanical garden. So the distance is shorter. And for this year, we do not want to get the participant to run into the botanical garden, because there will be, on a Saturday weekend, there will be a lot of people queuing up, checking in, scanning the QR code, and getting their temperature taken. So our runners may have to queue and all that. So we don't really want to get our runner into the crowd. We want them to be out of the crowd, away from the crowd. So what we'll do is more or less like the 200 meters just from the start, they'll be directed into the trailhead. Trailhead already, straight away. Cross the bridge, Mark, you may know that, huh? Cross the river, cross the bridge. It's only a few hundred meters, then they're in the trail. They never go into the botanical garden, which, of course, is a pity. It's an iconic, historic place. The original design is to get runners at least to see, how this botanical garden is like. But this year, you have to miss that. But apart from that, we are keeping all the other things. All the section remains, including the Heritage Trail, the Tiger Hill Trailhead, all the way. It's all complete. All the way to Kek Lok Si. That's another landmark. And then going up back to Penang Hill and come down to Station 84, and all the way to the finish.
The 100k was meant to be a very tough one, right? It's a very tough course, the 100k. So how tough is the 40k, do you think? Because we know that some of the elite runners like Hisashi Kitamura, they want to join the event. What can they expect on to encounter on 40ks?
As a lot of people know now, U-Talk is mostly about climbs. A lot of elevation. A lot of elevation. I would think the toughest one would be from once you get to Penang Hill Station, you want having the Heritage Trail. And that one will be tough for a lot of people. Probably not the elite, but those people who are taking on just 40k as a challenge, they will find it tough. And after that, the section from the Tiger Hill Trailhead. That's our checkpoint. That's the second checkpoint. All the way, it's a long way. Yeah. In fact, I just hiked through that last weekend. Yeah. From that Tiger Hill Trailhead to Kekloksi. It's a long way for a lot of people.
It's a longer section.
Yeah, it is a longer section. Yeah, so it will be very tough for those. It has been very tough for the 100K and 60K people. Because that is almost like the last few, 20 kilometers of the whole race. And they've been so tired, and that section is so long. And it used to be quite raw. Last week, it seems much better than before. So much more civilized, and runnable than before. Not as many voluntary. So a lot of the grasses have been cleared. So it's quite good, but it will be tough for just the normal people who take on 40K.
Yeah. So in a way, we could also say it's a blessing maybe that UTOP has had to reduce its maximum race distance also to 40, because given the year it has been, I think the last race in Malaysia, maybe Mark, you can correct me, it was BUTM in the middle of March.
Yes, March.
That was probably the last ultra trail in Malaysia. So that's that will be almost 8 months. Yeah.
Yes.
So I can imagine that most of the Malaysian runners, most of them maybe keep fit, but to do ultra distance will be very tough otherwise.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. They have no warm up races to do.
Exactly.
They go straight into doing 100, and we set the cutoff at 34 hours before, and in the middle of the race, we know that a lot of people cannot make it, so we extended by 1 hour, and still. Those who finished, and of course many did not finish, those who finished all said that it was very tough.
So Mark, how has the Malaysian trail community lived through these difficult months?
What I've observed, most of my friends, most of the trail runners, they are keep busying themselves. Most of them, they do long distance runs on trail every weekend, even though there's no rest, no event, or so on, but they keep themselves busy. I see that there's a trend now, which is good for me, right, to see. So they keep on making themselves busy. They keep on exercise, longer hours, like 7 to 8 hours like that for weekend. It's a good lah. But now here I can see most of them are really putting on effort on few virtual runs. I can see, most of the organizers, they're creating new virtual runs, and then they keep joining. And then most of my friends also, they are doing cycling. It's a trend now, is cycling in Malaysia.
I have noticed on Strava there's a lot of runners who are suddenly appearing on race bikes.
Exactly. That's the trend.
It's a good training for trail running anyway.
Yes.
It is. It is.
Yes, Seow, you also know, of course, you're a triathlete, an Ironman. So
I don't do so much cycling these days. Penang Island, once you do a few round island, that's more or less it.
So, Mark or Seow, have you seen any trail runners who you argue, okay, wow, I mean, he or she is in really good shape at the moment? Maybe been training on the UTOP course in the last few weeks to prepare for the race?
I spotted few of my friends. I think this guy, podium for last UTOP, if I'm not mistaken, keep going on the UTOP trail. So I did mention few of the runners who will possibility to run this UTOP, and then he said it's a good challenge for him as well. And then he keep on training until now. Besides this weekend, he'll be doing another trail run in UTOP. So I told you honestly, every weekend I can see a lot of people going into Penang. I tell you, actively.
Yes.
That's
I
great
think
to hear.
some of them have been taking it rather positively.
Yes.
As long as the race is not cancelled, they
Correct.
still train in hope.
Yeah.
They still train in hope.
Yeah.
Even before we kind of like because we waited until the announcement by our Prime Minister on the extension of the RMCO at the end of August, right? And it's really after that, we started our application process. Yeah. But these guys, they don't even wait for that. They have been training since July or August.
Yeah.
So
There's-
so they've been very positive, and so far so after we kind of like gave further positive news, I think they train even harder. They go even longer.
Yes.
I think some of them, they went into this Taman Negara thinking that 100K may be on, 60K may be on. So they went to the Taman Negara National Park, to train and all that. So really sort of like going over the distance.
Yes.
But
And-
that must have done them some good. They have a very solid training base.
Exactly. Somebody who has also been training like mad over the past couple of months, at least based on Strava, is Milton Amat on Borneo and Sabah.
Yeah.
How is the situation for the Sabahan runners at the moment? Will they be able to fly to Penang?
What I can see is that few of my friends are from Sabah as well, but they have this second thought, like 50-50%, want to join UTOP or not, because once they travel to Penang, they have to do this swab test and then quarantine for 14 days, if I'm not mistaken, in Penang.
They
And
have to do
then
the
after
quarantine in
that,
Penang.
then they'll go for a rest. But this maybe take times, consume money and energy and so on.
Yeah.
They're still thinking about this, how to manage it. I'm not sure about this yet. Yeah.
So-
I have received messages from Sabahan runners still thinking of coming.
Yes.
I don't know whether how they're going to take these 14 days quarantine and all that. Maybe they have changed their mind by now, but we have quite many Sabahan runners, signing up just like normal at the beginning of the year. Before this MCO, before this whole thing. So the reason why I have a 12-kilometer category is because of an appeal by the Sabahan runners. They say, we are coming in a big group. We want to run your race this year. We pick you top. But we have some runner who want to run a shorter distance. So can you do a 12K or 10K, that kind of thing? That's how and why the 12-kilometer category was created specifically for these runners. Of course, some local runners can join it as well. So we will have kind of a declaration that we require our runners to make. That they haven't been in contact with these people. They haven't traveled to any international country, which have these things going on and all that thing. So they haven't been contacting with person who has been quarantined before or what, that kind of thing. But we are all this SOP thing. We will only announce that perhaps next week after we get the permit from the KPS.
Seow Kong, you already mentioned it before. Actually, in this interview, there will be a lot of eyes on you and on UTOP from other organizations in Malaysia. So I'm sure that this gives you also extra stress. But at the same time, if everything goes well, you will be the king, right?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know about the stress. I will probably get more white hair, but nobody will notice that, right? I have a lot already.
But you do. But you can set the benchmark, right, for the coming months.
It is a lot more to think about. But I think if you are systematic about it, you're looking at one area by one area. Starting point, registration. You go through that. Look at the whole process. It's still manageable. It's manageable. Luckily, again, that it's only a one-day event, shorter distance. Only three checkpoint outside the starting point. So they are all accessible by vehicle. So that makes it easier. Perhaps being a first race is better to be safe in that way. I mean, we don't want to put ourselves and especially the runners into unnecessary risks as well. So this allow us to execute our SOP properly, and still maybe we. I hope that after our race, a lot more like the next one will be the TNBT, right?
December.
The last news is unfortunately not very positive, but there's no final decision yet. Maybe Mark had some information about some other events in Malaysia. I know that MMTF will also not take place. So that's also off the calendar now.
There's one other ultra road races which will happen in November, if I'm not mistaken, November, called Perlis Ultra Race Putra. They call it Putra.
Yeah.
So only I contacted this race director. He mentioned that it will be a limited limited slot for 100 runners only. But all eyes are watching YouTube lah.
Okay.
Wow, I have signed up for my TMBT. The first time I will be doing it.
Yeah.
I haven't done this race before. So I'm quite looking forward to run TNBT this year, but okay, perhaps next year, but hopefully this year.
Yeah. We will need to wait and see. TMBT is normally the final race of the 2020 season, even though the season is now merged with next year. But yeah, it would still be interesting, of course, as the last race of the year. Okay. Thanks a lot, Seow Kong, for joining us this evening and giving some more some more information about UTOP. The race is on 24th of October. Mark Jimin will be reporting for us on the Asia Trail Master media channels.
Right.
And I wish you all the best, Seow Kong, for the event. Hope everything goes fine. And and we're also looking forward to I myself look forward to being there next year in any case.
Yeah, you should.
Okay, and the next guests on our Tale of the Trail show today are from Japan, Mr. Tatsuo Chiba and Miss Oematsu. Is that correct? Yeah, nice, and welcome to the show. And the reason you're here is, of course, Izu Trail Journey, the Japan Super Trail on 13 December. And very recently, you shared some good news on social media and on the website that Izu Trail Journey will take place this year as well in 2020, the year of Corona. So let's talk a little bit about Izu Trail Journey right now. So it will take place. It will be a race for domestic runners only, for Japanese runners only, right? So what does that mean? Can also foreigners who live in Japan take place in the race?
Yes. If you're living in Japan, you can participate.
Yeah. And the registrations, they are already closed, right? Because they went very quickly, no?
Filled up very quickly.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about how many people you expect on 13th of December?
Yes. We have 1,500 racers in total. That's the same as last year and usual.
Yeah. And is it again the kind of a Japanese national championship for the national team in trail running in Japan?
Yes.
Also, yeah. Okay. So it's going to be a very big race with lots of elite runners again. Also in the Asia Trail Master Championship, it's the Japan Super Trail. Will the winner from last year be there?
いるはず、います。おそらく来てくれると思う。招待するけど、おそらく来ると思います。
The men's category winner will be in the race.
Yeah, the men's category winner will be there because he was very impressive last year. And the women's winner last year, of course, was Veronika Vodovicova from Slovakia. She also became Asia Trail Master Champion last year. But of course, she is now based in Hong Kong and she will not be able to travel to Japan.
Yes, it's definitely a pity. It's a really disappointing decision that we have to make. But given the circumstances and the border restrictions that's been in place, it's just difficult, impossible for international runners to come to Japan and participate in the race. So it's a disappointment. It's really sad, but
It's the way it is. Yeah. Veronika Vadovichova, so after last year's race, was there a lot of talk in the Japanese running community about Veronika?
可愛いって。
Oh yeah, many people were saying that she's really cute, and the performance was,
Yeah.
of course,
美しい。
outstanding. Beautiful person and strong racer.
Yeah. It was the first time that let's say a non-Japanese runner won Izu Trail Journey, right?
Yes.
Question about the this year's race. What kind of corona measures, anti-corona measures, have you planned for this year?
The first change that we made was the wave start system that we adapted. We divide 1,500 racers into 3 groups. Are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And they start in 3 different groups in different timing. That's the first change we made. And the second change is the aid station operation. The racers were picking up cups, drinks, and food from tables rather than the volunteer staff handing out the food and drinks to racers. So to reduce the human-to-human contact. That's the change we made at the aid station. But the local food that's available every year will be there.
Will still be there. Yeah.
Yep. And the third change we made was to this is the continuation from last year, but the plastic-less, 0 plastic is the goal that we are setting for this race to make this a sustainable journey. So that's the third change, but this is the continuation from last year. The fourth change is the new category that we added to the race. That's the Around Alone 26K race. That's the 26-kilometer race without aid station, and that's the round trip race. And that goes through the most beautiful part of the ITJ course.
Yeah.
These are the 4 changes that we made for this year.
The 26K race, around race, is that around the finish area?
同じですね。
Or-
西村さんと
Yes,
70キロと同じ。same.
Yes.
Yeah.
At the area.
That is indeed a very, very beautiful region.
It's
One question about the start waves. You say there will be 3 waves. Does that mean 3 waves of 500 people?
Yes.
Yeah. And will you split up the men and the women, or will it just be mixed?
分けずに、パフォーマンスインデックス順で、一応、一番、ファーストウェーブは、パフォーマンスインデックスで、エリートで入れて、あとは分けないっていうことです。
So there's no men and women category in the start. It's solely based on time, the performance index of the racer.
A question from a lot of Southeast Asian runners that I often get is, why is Izu Trail Journey taking place in December when it is already so cold in Japan?
Because many people are asking that question. Yes, that's the question that we often receive. Well, in December, of course, we explored other options to have the race in other months and other seasons, but November is one candidate, but that's when the autumn foliage is the most beautiful in the mountains, and lots of hikers are on the trail. So it's really hard to have the huge race during the autumn foliage season in November. And December is the driest season, the driest month in this area, and we have lower risk of heavy rain or typhoon that's becoming more intense because of the climate change. So that's why we are setting the race date in December.
That makes perfect sense because the climate is indeed very important. We saw, for example, also what happened with Hakuba trails. When was it? 2 years ago, when there was very, very heavy rainfall, and then the race could not even take place last year. Okay, so Izu Trail Journey will stay in December.
Yes.
2020 was supposed to be a year of celebration in Japan, right? With the Olympic Games, the Tokyo Games being, and now everything has been postponed. How do you see the chances for the games to take place in 2021?
Yes, that's a question we want to
Yeah.
ask. No one knows.
Yeah.
I think they're making decisions in this October, this month, or
Oh, really?
November,
Yeah.
I think.
Mhm.
I don't know. But yeah, that's a question that everyone's asking. We
Because
don't know.
also the Izu Peninsula is involved in the games, right? There will be the track cycling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mountain bikes.
Yeah.
And track racing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mountain bike also, yeah. Okay. But there's at the moment nobody really knows. Even in Japan, nobody knows what will happen.
But the Japanese Olympic Committee is preparing for the 2021 games, but we don't know.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining us today on the Tale of the Trail show. We look forward to hearing more about ITJ. We will, of course, also be reporting on the race here on the Asia Trail Masters social media as every year. We will have a reporter on the spot. We will still looking for somebody, of course, because it will be very hard for me to come this year. And then, of course, hopefully next year, 2021, everything will be back to normal, and we will see a lot of runners from all over Asia coming to Japan to compete on the Izu Peninsula. Thank you very much, Ms. Oematsu and Mr. Tatsuo Chiba, and see you soon.
Yep. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, and now we're here with Kirk Kenny. How are you doing?
Good, Chris. Good to be with you. Good to be with the whole ATM community, and I think, like everyone else, just trying to, make the best of a less than ideal situation, and work-wise, but also just in terms of, trying to get out on the trails myself and keep in touch with nature and stay in reasonably okay shape.
It seems like you have been on the trails quite often, right? Because you seem to have lost some weight also since the last time we met in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it's true. Well, first of all, thanks for noticing that I had a few pounds to lose. You're right. But yeah, you know what? It's true. This is also an opportunity, to kind of, again, to commit to, fitness and other sort of personal goals. And again, obviously in Hong Kong, we're really fortunate. We do have so many wonderful trails and they're so accessible. So, I live, 2 or 3 minutes from my house here on the south side of Hong Kong Island. I can be on the trails, and again, I'm not going running every day, but sometimes it's hiking, sometimes it's like a hike run. Like today, this morning, just after breakfast, I was able to get in a quick 10K of sort of walk run, and it's become part of my I guess part of my own personal kind of COVID routine, is to kind of just try and get out, even if it's for just like 3 or 4K. I just think consistency of effort and habit is really important.
And it's of course also great that you can go on the trails in Hong Kong at the moment. Or what exactly is the situation right now? Because normally right now is the beginning of the trail running season in Hong Kong. But obviously a lot of the events, or maybe all of the events, have been cancelled. Or how is it going there now? Because contrary to myself, you're actually permanently based in Hong Kong, right?
Correct. Yeah, I've been in Hong Kong for about 11 years now, and I've been in I guess the Greater China region for 20 years as of October. So yeah, look, the reality in Hong Kong, as you noted, is obviously we're not back to normal in terms of race season or events being held in sort of face-to-face kind of traditional manners. There've been a lot of virtual events where people are still going out on their own, working in teams and contributing or trying to achieve different goals in terms of mileage. And that's all wonderful and that's all great. And I think we're all grateful that we still can go out on the trails in Hong Kong. I think technically you're supposed to still, you're supposed to wear a mask when you go out. Some people follow that, some people don't, obviously. You're pretty isolated when you're out there, truth be told. But I think, so I think individuals have been able to, for those who are so inclined, have been able to maintain their fitness goals and sort of still be out in nature. But I think as you know, Chris, a big part of trail running, a big part of the appeal, I think, unlike some other, sports and even other running, versions of running sports, compared to say a lot of road races, in the trail running community, I just think there's a real camaraderie and social aspect to it. And so I think everyone, those who are part of that community, even those sort of on the fringes of it, like myself, as someone who has documented and recorded these in photography and video and so forth, we all miss that aspect of it, being able to meet up with other people, hang out, socialize, talk about what went on in the race, and travel to different destinations across the region and experience local culture there. So I think everybody misses that and can't wait to get back to that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember in the last episode of Tale of the Trail, Fredelin Alberto and Jeremy Ritchie, they mentioned that in Hong Kong, only 2 people can be together on the trails. Is that still the case, or has this bubble expanded now a little bit?
Actually, it's a good question. First of all, when I go, sadly, I guess it's a sad reflection that I don't have like a group of people. I'm sort of more of a one-man wolf pack when I go out on the trails. So I'm generally not meeting up with other people. So I don't actually know what the number is. I think it must be more than that now, Chris. You're right. At one point it was 2 people. And the reason I say that is just that I know, for example, a few weeks back, they lifted the restriction on indoor gathering. So now, for example, groups of 4 people can gather indoors. So one would assume that, in an outdoor scenario, it would be at least the same, if not more.
Yeah. Okay, Kirk. So you're, of course, one of our favorite photographers on the Asia Trail Master Circuit since the beginning, since 2015, and actually already a little bit earlier than that, because you took the shots for the initial website. So going back all those years, what was your favorite experience?
Yeah, gosh, it's really hard to say, and I'm not trying to just say that to make you look good. Really, I'd be hard pressed to think of an event that I didn't enjoy or that I didn't get something, out of. Every sort of, every ATM event that I've been to and covered in some way has been different. I guess there's the way I look at it, there's a couple things. Obviously, from a purely selfish visual, photographer's point of view, there are some venues that are just very, very striking, very stunning, right? And those, like again, I think a lot of the races, a lot of the events in Indonesia, for example, it's just such a, there's so many stunning venues there. So those come to mind. Some of the events in Vietnam that I haven't actually been to, but I've seen the photos of, those look incredible. Again, they're all special in their own way. When I go through images later on, I'm always struck by, again, partly the visuals and the place, but I would say, again, more than anything, sometimes it's the individual efforts of a particular runner, someone who was battling some injury and they didn't DNF, they stuck with it, that stick out for you. Or again, some of the conversations you get to have with people after the event. Those are the things that make it special. So I'm sorry, I know I'm doing a poor job of answering a question. I haven't really picked up one. I would just, yeah, but it's I think, gosh, I don't know how many events I've done over the years, Chris, for you, maybe I would say upwards of 20, maybe more, maybe probably less, I'm not sure.
Probably.
So, again, to me, they're all, again, they all sort of mean something, and they all mean something a little bit different. And, when I look at the images, again, you kind of, they're like memories. They're like little, yeah, they really sort of are, capture a time and a place and an experience that, that is special for me, and I'm sure special for the runners and organizers as well.
Exactly. That's what we, of course, also all hope, that everybody enjoys it as much as we do. And we hope that we can be back on the trails very quickly, right? It will be 2021 for sure. But when exactly, that is still a question mark. Thank you very much, Kirk, for your intervention in this episode of Tale of the Trail. Stay healthy, and we hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Chris. You too. You're also looking good. Looks like you've been staying in good shape, and yeah, absolutely. We'll have to we'll have to. I was going to say we'll have to have a race. I've seen you post some of your recent your times, and I don't think I'm going to be racing you anytime soon. But stay healthy, and all the best to the whole ATM community, and can't wait to get out there and see everybody again soon.
All right, our next guests on the Tale of the Trail show today are Amy Khor and Alyssa Ong, or also known as Ong Tien Chi from Malaysia. Amy, of course, in Singapore, as usual. She will be talking to Alyssa, who is a bit of a new name on the Asia Trail Master Circuit since last year's Vietnam Mountain Marathon, where she scored a great third place. And she backed that up with another sixth place at the ATM final in Taiping in MNTF. Amy and Alyssa, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello. Very nice to be here.
How are things in Malaysia, Alyssa?
It's doing okay so far. Just I think recently there's new cases, I guess. So it's just identifying like which is the red zone, and then the governments are still doing their precaution and stuff. So hopefully all will be well. It's like they are blocking the borders as well.
Yeah. Where exactly are you in Malaysia?
I'm in KL.
You're in Kuala Lumpur.
Kuala Lumpur. Yeah.
Amy, how is life on your side in Singapore?
Okay, I think Singapore side is getting much better, much controlled now. And when I'm out in the streets, it's like we can see people are getting back to the normal life. I can see like crowds going on, but hopefully they are not taking advantage of this and to keep social distancing.
Yeah, but no events yet, right, in Singapore?
No. I guess not until next year. But there are still virtual challenges going on, so people are still running around. I mean, people are still active, keeping healthy. Yeah. Hello, how are you feeling?
Hi. Yeah, I'm good. So excited, like to see you virtually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. It was like, I think the last time we met is December, right?
Yes. When you're part of the organizing for MMPF as well.
Yeah, that's right. So I remember the first time I saw you was in Vietnam, and you were totally blown away. I mean, it's like I was like wondering, who is this girl running in Vietnam?
Yeah.
You're like a black horse, really.
Yeah, you called me the dark horse.
Yeah, really was that.
It was exciting.
Yeah, because I mean, 100K, we were like spotting who are the really elite runners, and then suddenly you came in the radar. I was like, hey, who is this girl? It's like in the middle of the night, I was like going around trying to report what's happening in the race, and then I found you, and then you came in third position, 100 kilometers. Yeah. So, were you surprised that you came in third position?
Yeah, I think at first I was very happy, and I was like I stoked and excited, and also a little surprised because I think VMM there's a very strong feel of a women's runner as well. So really glad to start. And then when we started off right on the top of the mountain, I think the rain started coming, and then it was raining through the whole night. So I was glad I'm able to pull through, and then that's where I met you as well at the CP. So you were actually, I mean, ATM, I mean, you were covering for ATM, and then with the GPS, and then with your following us, like that really pushed me like, okay, I should chase after, because I know like there is something to chase for, you know, like because in the dark you don't know which position are you, but you know, with your help, like and the locals also helped to actually, because I went there by myself, more of like a solo run and explore as well. So really glad to able to meet people there who were actually very helpful like during the race, and all really helps towards me finishing as well.
So you said you went solo, as in like no one went with you at all?
No, I actually this race.
What made you join this race? What's the I mean, attractive part about this race?
This race, I've been noticing it since a year ago, and a year ago I was doing Penang Echo 50, so I went to Ultra doing like 50 first for 2018, and then I wanted a 100-kilometer race, which is also a well-known race, which also can collect for UTMB points. So and this race has very technical and very good mountains elevations that you can actually have, and very different villages and their culture. So that's why I choose like VMM, and actually I train for it. So I'm excited. Like finally, actually, not only I did my first 100 kilometer there, and also managed to get a placing as well.
Oh, that's a first
Yeah.
100 kilometer. Wow.
Yeah, so that's my actually debut race. So
Nice.
I was just so excited. I don't know. I was just like finishing already, and then
Oh, great. So,
Yeah.
do you know that you actually came into the finish line? Do you know you're at the third place?
yeah, I know, and but yet I took my sweet time because I met some of the runners, and when we were going down towards Topaz, the UNESCO, the finishing line, and
Right.
then one of the Vietnam runner was like, "Can you just take a picture of me?" So I was like, "Actually, I'm rushing, you know, like should I?" So I actually stopped. Someone got time to stop and take a video as well.
Right. Nice.
So
nice.
and I still like after that I just dashed towards the finish, and then I meet you guys at the ending point as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So you said that you were training for this 100 kilometers, your first 100 kilometers. So in
Yeah.
Malaysia, how do you train, and like where do you usually train?
Usually would be on weekdays. Bukit Kiara Hill will be the training route which I often go. But for my training, I often go towards the trail, any hills or mountain. So I mostly do trail directly, so I can get the elevation in as well, like to get the feel of the elevation, just not only training on the flat road. So for me, it's more of really just go into trail and run as if you are actually racing, and just push that, make your body tired until you're able to see how you react actually during a race. So
Cool.
that's just my thought of how am I supposed to train for a race, just not purely
Wow.
on
So will you be running very long? Because we've seen that your record in APM is only like 2 races, just
Yeah.
VMM and MMTF. So before that, were you doing any running, or were you doing other sports?
Yeah, before that I actually joined 50 kilometer Penang Echo.
Yeah.
So that was
And you
15,
came
and then
like 9th position, I think.
I came
If
in
I'm not
fifth.
wrong, I think.
I think
Fifth.
fifth.
Oh yeah, I think
Yeah,
the
yeah.
overall is 9. I think I saw it.
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
like, the
Yeah,
right?
the overall
Overall
with meal as well. So
Yeah.
it's 9. So for women it's 5th, and
Wow.
it was nice. It was one of the Sukong race as well, and
Yeah.
because that time it was one of the super trail under Asia Trail Master. So actually, when I came into ultra, I actually like various outdoor sports and mountains and stuff. So coming into ultra is something that I like the challenge, the racing, just to come back but racing again. And I straight away look into Asia Trail Master list. Okay, what can I do maybe in Malaysia first? So
Wow.
Penang Echo was one. I think, okay, it's super trail. Why not just go do it? So that was my first 50 as well.
Right.
So most of the races I picked,
Wow.
my first 50 as well. So most of the races, I just pick my races and I aim for it, and just very been thankful that, I mean, I got some placing out of it. And also meet some people.
You pick some races. So
Yeah, I
what-
pick my races.
What do you? I mean, what's the key thing that you pick on to select what you want to join?
It basically comes down to 3 things. Like I like the mountains area, so it definitely has to be in a mountain, more trails than like 70%, 30% trails. So
Right.
it definitely has to be 70% trails more, and most of it roads or plantation, and then some of it is definitely the elevation that I'm looking for. Because for me, elevation is something that I actually like. I like to go up to the view and then see how is it, and then I come back down.
It thrills you.
The trail view, right? And also another thing is the races that it's tough enough, and you can actually get the points recognized for UTMB as well. So that's why I just pick the main races, the big races, and see how I go from there. So maybe it's a bit different than all the runners who run quite a few races. Like for me, maybe because I'm just picking a few and doing more of a training before I go for these very massive races, and try to aim for at least a good result. And yeah, that's what I did for when I came into ultra.
I see. So you said that you like technical trails. So you have been to Penang, and then Vietnam, and then MMTF. So like, well, of these 3 races, I mean, like, which is the most technical? Do you think? Like, you think that so far? I mean, there, of course, every race has its own different and stuff. So perhaps you want to tell us more. How do you like all these 3 races?
Like all these 3 races were having different objective when I go in. Like Penang was a start off race, 50 straight, and and I aim for that as well. So Penang was more of the hills that you get to access during your race, during like ultra races. So the hills, like those tough hills that you only can access. So that's one of the reason why I chose as well. And also Penang is very humid sometimes. I think it's just about how do you run under the heat and sort of race that kind of race. So I chose that, and it's also a very nice place to go. You know, can eat a lot of food after that.
Yeah.
And then the other two was for I think for Vietnam was one of the international race that I want to actually expose myself to. Like at least I get to run with the national audiences as well, and also see where I can, and also see the place because I've been wanting to see Vietnam, and Sapa was just nice. It was year end September, so just nice in time for me to have some time training before that, because I do work full time as well. So have some time training, and 100 is a distance, you know, like to really put in that mileage, you need to put it in, and you need to, and I'm going there by myself, so I need to like plan a lot of things. So one thing good about VMM is I think David organized the race, it comes with packages.
Yeah.
So it's very easy for even you are solo runners or you are with family, you can actually have package. They will actually bring you up nicely to Sapa Mountains, check you in, and have very wonderful food. So yeah, I've seen, I mean, the race process or even registering and reaching there and actually finishing it, it's just very easy, very comfortable to race.
But
So-
do you find going to VMM, the journey is quite quite challenging too?
Yes. Okay. It's challenging if if you go by your own transport, I guess. I think they had this private coach fetching all of us runner up.
Yeah.
So it's not as windy as the local. You know, you have to travel really through the mountains up there, windy. Yeah, I think I like that kind of traveling. So for me, it's like backpacker style or solo style. It's
I
fun.
remember you told me that you were still extending for holidays after that, right? For
Yeah.
trekking, all
Yeah,
right?
because I was like, everyone asked me, are you sure or not? After you run, really, can you like really travel? I extended one more week to like go the whole Vietnam, like Da Nang as well. So I was grateful that I didn't sprain my leg or anything during the race. So
Very daring girl.
yeah, I was happy to meet you as well. Like I got to know you really in person during that race as well.
Yeah. So how about MMTF?
Yeah, about MLTF was. I contacted you 2 weeks before, so
Yeah.
I think I was seeing y'all announcing like, oh, it's a final ATM, and you know, not many finals you get to have in Malaysia. So I said, yeah, I mean, then I just switched some things around, and I just decided to go like 3 weeks before. So it's really a race that I didn't plan of it, but I still feel like, you know, it's an opportunity that I should go and meet like all of the runners, and that was the North Face race in Malaysia.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of go support as well, because I heard the route was pretty challenging as well, the Virgin Mountain route.
Yeah.
So when I really when I really did that 84 kilometer, the second loop was really, it's tough on me. I mean, when you are chasing someone, if you are chasing people like nonstop,
So you like that kind of adrenaline rush by chasing people during a race?
yeah. So I like the adrenaline. So maybe that's why I'm competitive, but I'm okay with having competition. It's just that maybe I have not really like, if to go full on into more Asia Trail races. I think need to have some planning, because when my idea was to like get that distance and I got some result, and then and see where it goes further again.
So you have been being so like challenges, and you've been so competitive, and then during this lockdown period, what have you been doing?
I have, I think if you notice, Trevor, I've been actually planning, because I like to plan my own route race, like my run route as well. Like I like to try different trails. Like there's a lot of trails in KL as well, and out of KL. So I recently joined this virtual race. It's called Trans-Borneo 1,600 kilometers. So you run in a team of 6, and then each of us would have to run actually 200 plus.
So is it like a balance? Like everyone run that same amount of mileage?
Yeah, you a minimum you can run 200 and above, and if you couldn't, then the rest can finish it for you. So it's just that you have to run. It's the same distance from the Sarawak to Sabah, which is East Malaysia here. So 1,006 kilometer run. So it's more like a team effort, which I mean during the race I always train by myself. You know, we always like to. You have to be alone, like to know whether you can actually handle yourself independently during the race. So, but when during this period where there's a lot of virtual race coming up, and I think because I chose this because it's just the time that it was September as well, and then I remember like okay, last September I was racing, so maybe I should do something. Yeah, I was in racing, preparing for a race, and I should do something, you know. So it came
I heard that your team members are with you now.
Which one? Yeah, but yeah.
You want them to say hello?
Yeah, sure. Because we were actually celebrating our
you're finishing.
We were celebrating a finish of our run, so you can say hi. So okay, hi everyone. This is Amy. Can you see them?
Yeah,
Can you see them?
Yeah. Hello. Hi.
So this is I can't see you. Can see you? Yeah. So we were actually just celebrating the finish of our run.
I see.
So and then I told them that I'm actually talking with Amy, so they're actually excited to just say hi.
I see. So on the Strava, we've also I know that you actually clocked some course record.
Yeah.
Bukit Kiara and Datuk, right?
Yeah. That was.
So, want to share with us a little bit more on that?
Yeah, sure. For me, I clocked all my runs in Strava, besides the watch I'm wearing. So the reason I tried to clock it is when I was doing my final distances for these races. So I've been there and I was thinking, why not I do something more fun and just hit that speed, that Strava segment as well, because I'm always looking at Strava segment and seeing which route to plan, right? So for me, I just go on the day and I say, okay, we besides covering the distance, maybe do something fun, like just speed up and then just to hit it. So I've been doing it for the Gunung Dato uphill, which is quite a good hill here in Malaysia.
Good elevation. I think I've been there before. It's quite good elevation actually.
Yeah. So it's steep straight up 2 kilometers and then about 29% gradient, and then you get to see the whole view, the rocky view and
beautiful.
stuff.
Yeah.
So that was the one I was like, okay, let's do something fun.
Okay.
If not I'll be like, oh, running and do the two times loop 8 kilometers only. So
Right. I remember I think I saw you training with BJ.
Yeah.
Are you still training with him?
Yeah, I think I ran with him after I came back from VMM. So we were doing like some roads in KL and then a lot of trails as well. So I think we'll be running maybe not so soon, like maybe tomorrow or also. So on the weekends, because I mean that's where we had the full day to run the long distances. So mostly weekends.
Okay. So you prefer speed race or do you prefer like long endurance race?
For as previously was more endurance. Like for me, I think endurance for me is something that I would like to challenge as well. So speed was just the reason. Like last year, I joined some marathon races to get the speed in, just to see the fun of it. Like I told you, I like some challenges as well. So besides the trail, I do 1 or 2 marathons for the speed, like full and half marathon. But basically, more of the focus is trail last year.
Okay. So you did the Penang Eco in 2018.
Yeah.
So now YouTube is because of the situation right now, they have changed to a format of like about 40K on one day. So do you think you will attempt it since like there's no race now?
Yeah, I didn't at first. I didn't thought of it. So
Maybe
I don't know. I mean, like, maybe I could think about it like the MMPF. I just say, oh, let's just run one day. Okay. But
After
I really
been like putting so much mileage and training, I think probably you should put it in a test.
excited if they really continue on. It will be the first race in Malaysia actually.
Yeah.
And I really hope that it will go on actually.
You can consider the one the Night Dragon in Hong Kong too. It's very good challenging terrain. It's like 50-50 and kind of like a speed too, so it forms as a good challenge. The challenge is like it's the course is like a lot of Hong Kong that's there, and it's speed, and then it's a combination of speed too.
Okay.
So it's very very good challenge race. Yeah, you should
Okay.
try.
Okay.
Yeah, highly
Yes.
recommend it. The last question to wrap up tonight, chat. Okay, so the COVID situation, the pandemic has caused so many people in doing a lot of thinking, reflection during this time. So,
Yeah.
what have you learned during this time? I mean, about yourself during this lockdown period?
Definitely, we all have to be more hygiene now. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, I think during this lockdown, like I guess it comes back to us like we can actually focus on other area. Like you can actually build your strength. Doesn't mean there's no race. You can actually focus on other things, building your connection with your family as well. Because
Right.
I think most of us ultra runners, when we train for a thing, we be like always going out every day is run, 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 and we don't really get to connect back and let people into our running as well. So I think this year has been for me is to focus. I switched job as well, so focusing on that, and then more importantly, actually focus on planning next year races. Like I keep looking forward. Like okay, the first race is Night Dragon. So
Nice.
what else? Like the rest. So for me, it's like really planning for what to come and just staying fit at the same time. So for me is this and then going into plotting new trails and trying out and just have that fitness built in just in time. Who knows, anything just might change
Yeah,
for a
exactly.
sudden.
I think it's a good time for us to stay focused on things that
Yeah.
we have been overlooked previously, and then
Yes.
get ourselves organized, and then when things are there, we are ready for it. So
Yes, correct.
it's really important.
I think so much to learn. You're running by yourself or running the group, and so much to share and to show them as well. So it's interesting.
I remember you have a twin sister.
Yeah,
Is she
I
running
have.
too?
Yeah, she do run like road ultra, not yet. I think I have to talk her into it. So
Yes, you should.
it's a long distance. So definitely ultra, not yet. But she's been
Okay.
following. She and my mom been following me throughout the races in Malaysia.
Yeah,
So
that's nice.
once in a while, they'll be waiting for me at
Oh,
the
hope to meet
checkpoint.
them. Oh, hope to
Yeah.
meet. Okay. Thanks so much for tonight. Hope to see you when the borders are open. Probably next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, thank you very much, Amy. Thank you, Alyssa. It's been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit better. It seems you're a very strong and independent woman, right? But I have one more question. You started trail running basically last year. Were you inspired by any trail runner, perhaps, in Malaysia or international?
Definitely. Like international, I've been following Emily Frostbutt and Courtney as well because they both. I think one thing they both are very humble and they are the one that, for women that pushing the women's distances, like going longer distances, and also sharing like nutrition wise as well. Because I'm also into nutrition, so I actually follow what do they share on their trail talks as well, and how do they actually overcome that long distances, like more than 200 kilometers. So definitely them both. The local, I've not yet, not yet.
Not yet.
So okay.
Malaysia has had one Asia Trail Master champion. In the meantime, it's 4 years ago. It was 2016, Tahira.
Yes, correct.
Do you know her?
Yeah, I think I met her in one of the Garmin races in Malaysia, organized by Garmin. So she's very strong. She's a person that I think I got to know Asia Trail when she started winning that year, and it was 2 years back, right? Yeah. So
4 years. In the meantime, it's 4 years. That's how fast time goes.
Yeah. So it's been 4 years. So I joined 2 years back. That's where I go into trail, and then up to now.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us on the Tale of the Trail show. Thank you very much, Amy. And hopefully we can see each other soon.
Yeah, sure.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
right, our next guest on the show here on the Tale of the Trail is David Lloyd. He is based in Vietnam, and he's also the race director of the Vietnam Mountain Marathon and the Vietnam Jungle Marathon. Both races are on the Asia Trailmaster calendar and coming up in the next 2 months. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris. Pleasure to be here.
It's the first time that you're on our show, so as a quick introduction to yourself, maybe you can explain to us a little bit where your origins are and how you made it to Vietnam.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm from England, but came over to Vietnam around 10 years ago. At that point, it was the idea of my wife that we come out here, and the plan was stay around about 6 months. And long story short, we both fell in love with the country. And we've never looked back, really. And at that time, when I came over, there was no mounted race at all in Vietnam, no trail races. And so we started something in 2013. And at that point, I've around maybe less than 10 people from Vietnam joined. And now here we are today with, as you know, thousands of mountain runners from right here in Vietnam. So it's an exciting place to be for not just mountain running, but also other endurance sports.
Yeah, absolutely. So were you part of the Topaz team from the beginning, or?
No. So for the race I was. So it's actually, rather than Topaz Eco Lodge, the company is Topaz Explorer Group, and that includes the Eco Lodge. Mm-hmm. But at the beginning, I was part of the team that set up the Vietnam Mountain Marathon, but not employed by Topaz at that point. So Asger, who you also know through email, I think, right? So he was the one who was working for Topaz and started it. And then there was myself and Jerry from Singapore, Jerry Chua, who you might know as well.
Yeah.
She was involved in helping to set it up. And then there was Simon from over in Denmark and Jacob from the embassy. And we were all doing it as volunteers just because, as I say, there was no mountain event, and we loved mountain running, so we just got involved. That first year it was around about 200 runners across all of the start lines. So completely different to today.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to what happened in Hong Kong, right? 10 years ago, the first Hong Kong 100 race also had 100 plus runners or something like that, and look where it is also today. Yeah. 2020 now, very difficult year. Corona year. How difficult has it been for the Topaz Eco Lodge in Sapa? Because of course, I think you're quite, dependent on tourism, right?
Yeah, well, as a group, so the Topaz Explorer Group in Vietnam, we have the Eco Lodge up in Sapa, and then another lodge, Topaz Riverside Lodge, also up there. And actually, of course, it's been a hard year for the lodge, but luckily we have plenty of Vietnamese clients come up there. And also international people, expats who are based in Vietnam. So, of course, it was hard when it was closed, and we had no guests for a while. But once we were able to open it up again, it's been consistently busy up there. The other part of the business is travel. So normally we bring in people mostly from Europe on active or adventure tours. So that is, of course, like every other travel business. At the moment, that part of the business is completely dead. But luckily, we also have sport. And as I say, luckily, Vietnamese people now love the adventure and endurance sports. So they're still able to run if the race is happening. The race in May, of course, had to be postponed. So May, that was, of course, that's Vietnam Jungle Marathon. And that was the first wave of COVID here. So looking back now, it feels for everybody, the timelines of this year have gone very strange. But
Vietnam was spared the brunt of the COVID-19 crisis initially, right? I mean, there were very few infections, and even in June we had the Dalat Ultra Trail, going on. Unfortunately, some other incident happened there then. But initially, it was all quite fine in Vietnam. And,
the cases. I mean, I can't remember the exact numbers now, but community transmission never got very high at all. Talking about sort of below 100 cases, and one of the reasons for that is that it was pretty well locked down initially. So, but then yes, it was the lockdown was lifted, and as you say, races were able to happen, and everything was fine until around August. And it was also a similar situation for New Zealand and Thailand, and it was called this 100-day curse, that after 100 days of zero transmission, there were a few transmissions.
Yeah.
And that was in Da Nang here, not far from where I am in Hoi An. And again, it was brought back under control. So we're talking about late July that second wave occurred.
Yeah.
And now here we are, late September, early October, and it's been around a month again with no community transmission. So now it's considered to be back under control, to the point where we can organise Vietnam Jungle Marathon and Vietnam Mountain Marathon soon.
Yeah. Yeah. So at the moment, you're quite confident that it will actually also take place next month. I think it's in 4 weeks, right? Vietnam Jungle Marathon.
Yes, yeah, I can say I'm confident. Yeah, so we actually on Monday we were in Thanh Hoa, which is the province where Vietnam Jungle Marathon takes place, and so we met with the Department of Sport there, Culture, Tourism and Sports, and with the People's Committee, and they are happy for us to go ahead. So we've got the red stamp. So yeah, and as long as nothing occurs between now and race day, we can say for sure it's getting ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, and the program is unchanged, so you still have the 70K as the longest distance, as the A race, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so 70, 55, and then 42. Obviously not for Asia Trail Master, but the other races 42, 25, and now a 10K. So yeah, then there'll be some small changes to the way we run it in terms of being more sort of COVID safe. Despite the fact there's no community transmissions, we will still put some things in place to make sure it's as safe as it can be. Yeah. But race-wise and runner experience-wise on the trails, yeah, the same.
Registrations are as normal or a bit less now?
Yeah, they're up for Vietnam Jungle Marathon. They're up, but they tend to just slightly go up each year for that race. It's a smaller race than Vietnam Mountain Marathon.
Yeah,
and also this year, because of the move to October, it won't be so hot. So we're more confident to have a few more runners there. Normally we keep it limited to 1,000. So this year I think we've maybe is around 1,200 or so at that race. For Vietnam Mountain Marathon, the numbers are down because normally we have quite a lot of runners from overseas.
Right. There's the classic
so
event.
Yeah, that's the oldest event, and it's kind of the flagship event on our calendar here in Vietnam. So that one would normally be, we were predicting 4,500 or so for this year, but I think it's somewhere around 2,500 now. But we expect registrations will tick up quite a lot from between now and then, because as people feel confident to book, then we'll see later registrations, I think.
Yeah. Last year's Vietnam Jungle Marathon turned into a classic Asia Trail Master event, so to speak, with Veronika Vadevichova almost beating Hisashi Kitamura in the race, right, in the 70K race. It drew a lot of attention all across Asia in the trail and running communities. Are you a little bit disappointed now that, because of COVID-19, you have not really been able to benefit from last year's event? And
yeah, yes and no. I mean, it's hard to feel disappointed when the fact that we can run an event, even if we could run an event with 300 people, I think we just feel ecstatic that we can just put a trail race on. But yeah, it would have been great because Veronica, I'm not sure if she would have planned to come back. In fact, I don't think it fitted into her calendar this year, but Hisashi was going to come back.
Yeah.
And it's also, he has a little bit of an interesting battle with Hum Hai, or Nguyen Tien Hum, the Vietnamese runner they've had a bit of a battle at VMM before.
Yeah.
And then Hisashi came and he won the battle at VJM, and so they wanted to go head to head again. I know, and I mean, of course, Hisashi could have just said, "Tick, I've won that one," and not come back. But he was, he wanted to come back. I mean, he's fantastic for the sport, right?
Absolutely.
For the sport. So yeah, that's disappointing, but I think he's not going to forget, and I think he'll come back next year. So.
Are you already, I mean, of course, this is now really looking a bit maybe too far ahead, but are you already thinking of VGM 2021? Because normally it's a springtime event. It's half a year from now, more or less.
Yes, yeah, we've slated it on the calendar for the same date, for the standard date, which is May.
Yeah.
And it's more than likely we'll leave it there. It's just there's a small chance we might move it in terms of if it works very well on this date. in terms of the climate and runner feedback. We'll listen to the runners. There's a small chance we might move it, but yeah, for sure we're looking to run the calendar next year, and let's be optimistic and hope mid to the end of the year we might welcome runners from other countries. Perhaps there'll be some travel bubbles within Southeast Asia.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, your events, VGM especially, also VMM, and you also have another event, VTM, in January, right? Which at the moment is not part of our championship series. But in a way, they are comparable with other events in Southeast Asia, like the Cordillera Mountain Ultra in Philippines and the Merapo Trail in Malaysia, in the sense that you involve local village communities, mountain villages, and you also try to empower these villages by using these events, right?
That's right. Yeah, I mean, VJM is probably the best example of that, and that's why we ended up becoming a sort of sister race or partner race with Cordillera.
Yeah.
After William came to the race, actually, and he said, he having been to both, he's like, these are like twin races, and he felt that JP and I and our team had a lot in common in terms of like you say, the way we try and involve the community. And so yeah, at all of our races, we employ a lot of local people because they know, if anybody knows the trail, of course, it's the local people. So in terms of working on the trail, in terms of like marking it and cutting it and all of everything that goes around making the actual trail work, we work with local people. And then also like JP, we put a lot of people in homestay accommodation there. And at VJM, it's much more than about that one weekend, because before we organised the race in Pulung, a lot of people didn't know about Pulung. Even, of course, overseas people had no idea, but even people in Hanoi and Saigon and Da Nang, it wasn't an area that people were familiar with. But now people will go back to those homestays with their friends or with small running groups or with families or whatever, like all the way through the year. So we like to think that we've helped to kind of grow the community tourism in that area. So yeah, the idea is also to always, like to say, to have an impact beyond that 3 days or 4 days where the run comes in.
So it is possible also in the Pulong area to go there for a training camp, for example. I mean, we know that Harry Jones, for example, he went to the Cordillera for 2 weeks to prepare for UTMB 2 years ago, I think. So that is also possible in Pulong, you say?
Yeah, we've actually, I mean, anybody could do it by themselves, or we've run training camps there before. We did about a week there, so we use bits of the running route, but also go off onto different sections which the runners don't normally see, because we essentially run from village to village, and most of those villages have homestays, so you can just stop in each of them. And the nice thing is the people who own the homestays normally work with us on the race, so we all know each other, and so there's a very sort of personal feeling to being there for a few days if you're on the trail camp. So yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite places to be for running or for just being with friends or taking my kids there. So that is a really amazing special place.
It's a very beautiful place, that area. Yeah. David, you yourself are a big fan of elevation gain, right? In trail races. You told me once that Mantra Summits Challenge in East Java in Indonesia is like one of the races that you would really like to do on our ATM circuit. Do you have any plans in that direction for any of the races like VMM? Are you still planning to make it even tougher than it is now, or?
We changed the course a bit last year, and it's the DNF rate on the 100 is already probably high enough, but we are thinking about adding a longer distance to it, potentially next year, but not confirmed. The other races, for sure, VJM is hard enough already. We're told that all the time, so we won't be making that tougher. And then Vietnam Trail Marathon, which is January. The idea of that race is that it's friendly to beginners, so and it's a bit of a faster course. But we'll add in probably another race or maybe 2 next year, and one of those will be the easiest race we've done yet. So very, very beginner friendly, and maybe add a 5K that anybody could do, and not much gain. But yeah, for sure, like for me, I love gain, and it was all about when I was back in England and in Wales, it was fell running was going up and down mountains, not running in between them. So yeah, it's for sure what I like.
Yeah, this new race that you mentioned, is it going to be in close to where you are now in Hoi An, in Hue?
No, actually, I mean, so yeah, now. So for people who aren't so familiar with Vietnam, Hanoi and Sapa, Bulung, and Mok Chau are all in the north of the country. I live in the central part of the country now, and I do, of course, I look around here, and I've done scouting in central Vietnam, but again, I've been pulled back to the north because I've found another couple of areas up there that are just too good to ignore, basically. So yeah, I do look for. We've talked about it as well.
Yeah.
Races here, but there's not yet an area I found that really grabs me like the places I found in the north.
Okay. Yeah, the reason, of course, I mentioned it because Hoi An is a famous tourist destination in Vietnam as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Vietnam, as you mentioned before, also witnessed an incredible boom in endurance sports in the last couple of years, a little bit similar to Thailand in terms of numbers, with thousands of people participating and even trail running events. That is actually even unheard of in Hong Kong. So it's amazing, but now with COVID-19, do you fear that this trend will go downwards a little bit again, or do you
Not
see
really.
any impact so far?
No, in the domestic market, I don't think. I mean, I could say Vietnam Mountain Marathon is down a bit this year now, but I think it will just tick back up again in the next 2 months with registrations. Maybe it will take a small hit, but I don't think there'll be a massive decrease in registrations at races. I mean, for people now, I think they prioritize it. A lot of people have become, they don't just do it once, and that's just a one-off experience. A lot of these people have really become runners, trail runners.
Lifestyle.
It's part of their life now. Yeah, totally. It's part of their life, and I think they see it as an investment, really. So yeah, I don't think there'll be a big decrease. No, like I say, the BJM is up this year rather than down. So.
Oh, that's good. That's great to hear. We've also seen the emergence of some elite runners in Vietnam. We're talking about Quang Trang, Hung Hai, as we mentioned before, who's also won the Dalat Ultra Trail this year, the 100K. Do you think that these guys who are trying to be professional runner, that they have it difficult now to be motivated to continue this sport? Do you know them actually personally, or?
Yeah, I don't think so, because the thing is now there's enough competition within Vietnam that they can, if they go head to head, then that's enough of a battle, I think, in itself. So, and that's definitely true on the male side and has been for a couple of years, or maybe 3 years, let's say. And on the women's side, there's plenty of strong runners, of course, but in terms of fast runners, there weren't so many. But that's changing now, and we're starting to see a few of the Vietnamese females who also can start to duke it out. And I think next year, when some of the other females from the Asia Trail Master Series circuit come over, then there'll be a bit more of a battle for the female podium as well as the male. Okay. So no, I think there's plenty of motivation for them, and it will. I think we'll see a difference actually when they start to go out of Vietnam after this year. The level, I think, will be a fair bit higher.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because we have great runners, male runners already. So and now because Vietnam does have events now, they can actually score points for the championship. As we all know, the championship has been merged. 2020 has been merged with 2021.
Yeah.
But runners in Vietnam, they can score points and carry them over to 2021. So they have a slight advantage at the moment. So
yeah.
Let's hope that maybe Hung Hai or Quang Trang, Non Trong, that they can become real stars on the Asian scene next year. That would be great. Are they planning to run VMM and VGM? Do you know?
Yeah, so BJM, definitely Quang Chun is running. I think that Hung Hai is focused. There's a road marathon about a week after, and he also runs. He does various different sports, including road. I'm pretty sure he's focused on that one. VMM, I think I'm hoping to see a head-to-head between those two there, and then there's a sort of second tier of runners who are coming up, and they're very modest. People like Nguyen who say that they're not in the same league, but at some point that's going to change, and that could be at VMM. We might see them coming up and battling for the podium, or certainly for the podium, but maybe even for the win. Let's see.
Yeah. All right. Great. David, you're also a very keen cyclist, no?
Yeah.
How is the cycling scene in Vietnam?
It's different, that's for sure. I mean, in terms of being able to join events, there are really no events here yet. Sort of nothing like your Gran Fondo, for example, Yunnan. There's no stage race here yet for amateur riders. So it's sort of behind where Thailand is and China is, and Philippines and other Southeast Asian countries. But in terms of the ride quality here, what you can ride, it's amazing, and the cycling community is fantastic and extremely welcoming. But here in Da Nang and in Hanoi and Saigon, so it's a great place to ride bikes. And we're starting through Velo Vietnam, a very small sort of stage event, which is only the uphill segments are timed, so a little bit similar to a kind of an oat route style. So people can relax when they ride in between the segments, and then they battle on the uphills if they want to. So that was a test event last year called Northern Frontier, and with around 15 riders from all over actually, from Europe and from Southeast Asia and Australia. The plan was to open that to a few more people this year, but as we know, that's been complicated. But perhaps next year. But there's the idea for that isn't ever to become something with hundreds and hundreds of. It always will be something quite small. But yeah, as I say, as a place to ride a bike, it's hard to beat here.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. All right. Thank you very much, David, for joining us on the Tale of the Trail show today.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Stay safe, and we're looking forward to coming back to Vietnam and to your races.
Yeah, you're more than welcome anytime.
Okay, the next guest on our show today is none other than Steve Carr from the legendary Nine Dragons event in Hong Kong. Welcome, Steve.
Well, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, big question, of course, that is on everybody's mind. Will the Nine Dragons take place next February? Because it's coming soon already.
Yeah, it's very soon. I think at the moment, because of the situation in Hong Kong, things are getting a lot more stable in terms of COVID and in terms of events going forward. I think the best way to say it, quietly confident that it will happen. Obviously, things will change in terms of how it happens, but I'm quite quietly confident that things will go well.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So when you say it will, you're not yet sure how it will happen. So what exactly do you have in mind? I mean, obviously there will be anti-COVID measures, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. I think for us, I think that's probably the key thing. Obviously, last year I think we were one of the first events globally to cancel because of COVID, and which was quite a difficult decision, but probably the right decision at the same time. And obviously, over the last year, we've been looking at how events have happened, not just in Asia, but in Europe, in terms of how they organize start lines and starting pens and social distancing. And because obviously the priority for any race organization should be the runners and the marshals, rather than just putting on the event. So obviously we're looking at how we run our checkpoints a little bit more within this new normal, and how the start line might happen. In terms of how do we socially distance 500 people to make sure everyone's safe. So it's interesting times, I think, for probably most race directors.
Absolutely. When you're also talking about starting lines, normally the start is at midnight, right?
Yeah.
And the first day is the 50 miles, which is actually a little bit longer than 50 miles. If you're talking about starting waves, that might have an impact for some of the runners, right? Yeah.
Oh, completely. I think this year, one of the big changes for next year is the 50 miles is actually 50 miles. Normally it's been roughly around 54.2. And this year what we've done is we've taken away part of the course. Because obviously the extra 5 miles is, an hour and a half for some people, because it's at the back end.
Correct.
So because we've shrunk it down, it actually gives people probably a better opportunity to finish the race, because obviously there's a high, as you know, Chris, there's a high DNF rate on this race.
Yeah.
So obviously we're going to look at starting pens not lots of starting pens, but enough to manage the distancing for people.
Yeah. All right, that sounds good. But what about the country border in Hong Kong? Do you have already any insight on potentially allowing international runners also to sign up? Speaking of which, are you already planning to open registration, or?
With the country borders, who knows? Is the honest answer. I know there's lots of talks in the press in Hong Kong about travel bubbles within Asia with different countries. Certainly with Singapore, with Philippines,
and China, even this
and
week,
China and Malaysia, and also with Japan. So historically, those have been the countries where we've had the most overseas runners from. In terms of opening registration, I think we feel that the best thing at the moment is just to hold back a little bit. We don't want to open a registration and then have to cancel the event. We want to ensure that those people who want to come and do the race sign up with confidence that they can book their flights, book their hotel, and that the race will go ahead. So it's one of those where it's, we're Michael and myself and the team are constantly looking at what's going on and looking at the progress in terms of what we can and can't do.
What about the event date? Is there any thinking that you might postpone the event to a later date in the year, or are you just holding on to the first weekend of February?
We have a backup date. So we do have a backup date ready. We don't want to do the backup date because as you know, in Hong Kong, there are hundreds of races.
Yeah.
And every weekend there are multiple events going on, and we've always gone down the route of with the new boys in town kind of thing, and we've picked that date because it didn't clash with other events. If we were to do our backup date, I would expect more runners to not finish, because the backup date is in a part of the year where it's a little bit warmer, a little bit more humid, and it's just not going to play fair for runners. And for us, it's always been, we wanted a weekend where we have always expected it to be a little bit cooler in early February, and for some reason every year we've had 2 very, very hot days.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're kind of hoping, we would like to stick to our dates.
Speaking about the many events in Hong Kong, right now is the start of the season, normally speaking, right? End of September, beginning of October is when most trail runners are coming out of their caves, so to speak, to compete again. So how is it now? Are there any events in the pipeline, or is absolutely nothing?
I've seen 1 or 2 events that have kind of popped up saying they have dates in late November, December time. I know this week there was an event that is over the Christmas holiday, which was cancelled. Obviously, Lantau 70 has been cancelled, which is at the end of October.
We haven't received an official confirmation about that one yet. Decision was coming soon. I checked actually myself on the website yesterday. It's not yet cancelled on the website.
Okay.
But yeah, of course, it doesn't look promising.
Yeah. And I think for most events this side of Christmas, it's difficult because at the moment we're still restricted to groups of 4. We're still the police aren't issuing permits, the government aren't issuing permits, so it's very difficult. And normally for us we would have 9 events a year, and in 2020 we haven't had 1.
Right.
So it's quite, and for us, like we've moved events to next year, and even now we're kind of holding back opening registration just to make sure that we can actually put it on.
So, but you're still planning at least to hold the 9 Dragons?
The planning stage is well and truly underway. Everything is in place in terms of our permit dates are confirmed, the routes are all confirmed. So it's just more kind of just waiting for someone to sign a piece of paper saying yes, you can do this. Because once we have that, then we can open registration, and then we can put everything else into place in terms of checkpoints, marshals, volunteers, and so on.
This is the 2nd year in a row that is very problematic in Hong Kong for the trail running community. In your eyes, how big is the impact the political situation and now the COVID-19 on top of it. How big is the impact on the trail running community in Hong Kong?
I think the political situation, because it didn't affect a lot of events. It made events worry slightly about how they ran their event. I think COVID has been the bigger, more difficult situation. Obviously, in Hong Kong, we had SARS in 1997, before I was here.
2003, I think.
Yeah. Sorry, 2003. I can't remember. I wasn't here at the time. And I think Hong Kong's got very, very protective. That was hugely damaging to the city. And in terms of COVID, at the end of the day, for me personally, a trail race is just a trail race. There are more important things in life, and and I personally think that when we cancelled Nine Dragons this year, I received a lot of very angry emails about people complaining about it, everything, because I don't think at that point anyone just realized the scale of what was going to happen globally, not just in Asia and not just in Hong Kong. So it's been I think it's affected people on a personal level, because obviously, as you know, Chris, the trail running community here is massively social, and people haven't been able to see people. We're not being, there's people I haven't seen in months. So it's kind of affected it in that sense. And I'm sure once races start to happen here, it's going to be, every race is going to be like a party, basically. Which is really good. It's a great way of doing it in a sense.
And do you think that everybody will still pop up? Reason I'm asking, because I'm aware of a few, let's say, elite runners who have left Hong Kong this year. Obviously, also more or less pushed out because of Corona, went back to their home countries. So we may actually be missing some of the runners. Are you aware of any?
I think the big thing for us is obviously that we had a lot of last year we had quite a few very, very good runners from the US and Europe coming over. People like Kazafumi, we had Darcy Piku, we had quite a lot of. It was kind of a ladies' year, very, very strong ladies' field last year, and we're hoping to kind of do that with the postponed race. But obviously that's all very dependent on flights. I mean we've always been capable of attracting some very interesting runners to the 50-50 and to the 50K as well. And that was one of the things that we hope to happen again this year. But again, it's down to flights and down to country borders, and hopefully we'll have a great lineup.
Right, Steve. So you're also quite active yourself on the trails the last couple of months. I can say, at least that's what we see on the social media, right?
Yeah.
Have you come across any runners there that we know?
No, because the problem is that I kind of run to avoid people. I kind of run to kind of get away from being in Hong Kong, and not being in Hong Kong, but being busy with various different projects, and try to run to try and avoid people, because normally when like I said, we do so many events this year, and we've obviously got Nine Dragons in Malaysia and Chiang Rai next year. So it's kind of one of the things I'm trying to do is use the trails as a place of meditation, rather than somewhere that I go to bump into people. But I've seen a few people, Jeremy from Lantau 17 Fast 50, who's a good friend anyway. And but I kind of try to run in the middle of the day when no one else is there, which fortunately I can do with my job at the moment. So it's good fun.
Yeah. You already mentioned Nine Dragons in Malaysia and Nine Dragons in Thailand coming up as well. Hopefully next year. The one in Langkawi is an official candidate race already for the Asia Trail Master Championship. It was confirmed by Eugene.
Very excited.
So can you already tell us a little bit more about the race in Langkawi, right?
Yeah, it's in Langkawi. So I know some of Eugene is the guy who kind of looks after it. So he probably is the best person to answer. So we know. So we decided Langkawi because it was somewhere that we felt was going to be interesting, like an interesting place to run. I've seen a lot of the photos and the video footage. of the race, and it looks amazing. It's not got as much elevation as the one in Hong Kong. So that the Hong Kong one is kind of like the mothership in a sense.
Yeah.
But we know that the 50 miles got some really good climbs, some good views. Some of the trails looking incredible. I was supposed to be there on Monday
Right.
to actually spend some time with Eugene and Stephen Ong just doing the course.
Stephen
and
Ong
just
will be
having a
the
look at
race director, right? Stephen Ong, 2017 ATM champion. He is planned as the
So-
race director, right?
Yeah, Stephen's the race director. So I met him. What Eugene and I wanted to do is to find someone to kind of manage the race on the day whilst we planned it and organized it. So he's designed the course. He knows the area probably, I think because he's running around Malaysia at the moment, he probably knows most of Malaysia better than most people. So he's come up with a course. So the 50 miles is a reasonably tough course, I would say, whereas the 50K is a lot more runnable. Kind of, I was going to say similar to Hong Kong, but the 50K is not runnable in Hong Kong at all. But it's a lot more runnable, the 50K the next day.
Yeah.
And I think it, for me, it's, when Eugene approached us, and I had a chat with him in the Malaysia Trail Festival when I met you in December.
Yeah.
We were having a chat about it, and he was very much, because he's done the race. He understood what we were looking for, and then when I did the forerunning for his race, it was very much, we were very similar in terms of what we tried to create, which is a tough race basically, but a rewarding race at the same time.
Yeah.
So we're pretty excited about it actually.
There's most likely going to be a nice after party in Langkawi, right? Because it's such a holiday place. Lots of opportunity there for a nice after party.
I as you know me, Chris, I wouldn't know what you're talking about.
Right.
But yeah, I think one of the things that we wanted was something that people from Hong Kong could go to, and it's kind of, I think there's public holidays around that date as well in Hong Kong, so people can actually go and spend some time in Langkawi, enjoy Langkawi, do the race, and hang around after the event as well, which is something that we've tried to create in Hong Kong. It's not just about the actual running of the event, it's the similar to what Eugene's done. It's kind of the after party and the pre-show stuff.
Exactly.
Because it's important to have that, I think.
Yeah. You mentioned Hong Kong runners will probably appreciate Langkawi. Several Hong Kong runners have also become aware of Chiang Rai in Thailand, right? Since last year.
Yeah.
Famous clash between John Ellis and Kitamura. Fredlin Alberto was also there.
Yeah.
So Chiang Rai, can you tell us a bit more, because that's quite new, right?
Yeah, so we're working with Nop from Tikalau. We've been chatting for maybe 18 months about the idea of doing an event in Thailand, because we felt that it was probably an area that we were keen to explore, because there's lots of races in Thailand, and the guys there seem to know what they're doing. They seem to put on a very good event.
Absolutely.
And then we originally were going to launch it maybe in time for Nine Dragons this year, so earlier in February, and obviously that kind of didn't happen, so we delayed it. And then originally it was going to be in Chiang Mai, and then we were looking in different areas, and the team there had come up with different courses and different elevation profiles and things like that, and originally it ended up being quite a hard race. Like even I, looking at the course profile, I was like, this is maybe a bit too much. So we moved location because we wanted something a little bit easier, basically. So we've got a course, because I think it's important. So I want to be able to see what the runners see, and then that will launch probably in time for Nine Dragons 2021. We'll launch the Chiang Rai one. They're just finishing off the permits and tweaking the course slightly, but it looks like it looks beautiful. Like I've seen drone shots and video shots of most of the course now, and it's a beauty. Like it's a real stunner of a course.
Yeah, Chiang Rai is fantastic.
Yeah.
Running. So is Nine Dragons Chiang Rai also planned for the Singa Park, or will it be in another location? To start and finish?
I'll be honest, I don't know.
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
great, Steve. Thank you very much for sharing all these great news, because it's quite positive, what you've been telling us. So Nine Dragons
Yeah.
Hong Kong, still on the show, still on the program.
Hopefully,
And
yeah.
then there's Langkawi and Chiang Rai coming up as well. So that's a lot on your plate for 2021.
That's why I'm going very grey, Chris.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Steve. And
No problem.
stay
Thank you,
safe.
Chris.
And as such, we have come to the end of this episode of The Tale of the Trail. We have entered Q4 of 2020, and finally we can get excited again about some real trail races. The last weekend of October will be a blast. Lantau 70 in Hong Kong is still officially active, and in November we will also still have Monkey's Trail on Koh Samui in Thailand and the classic Vietnam Mountain Marathon in Sapa. The Punisher remains a question mark. That's in Mindanao and Philippines, southern Philippines, but it hasn't been cancelled yet, and the same applies to Borneo TMBT Ultra in Sabah. The situation in Sabah has become quite worrisome over the past days, unfortunately, so it looks like it could be cancelled as well. However, Izu Trail Journey is going ahead on 13th of December, and that's always a big one to end the season with. No new champions this year. As we announced 2 months ago, 2020 has been merged with 2021. John Ellis and Veronika Vodevichova thus remain the ATM champions for another season. Speaking of 2021, organizers in the first quarter are understandably reluctant to open registration already at this stage, not knowing if their events can take place at all. The COVID-19 situation with all its restrictions may indeed stretch well into next year, until a vaccine has been produced and distributed. The only event on the ATM calendar for which you can sign up already is UTKC in Thailand, scheduled for the 3rd weekend of February as always. Already over 2,000 runners have done so, but the event organizer Telakau has promised that international runners will be able to sign up late in case the country border opens in time for the event. In the meantime, join our new Strava club called Club ATM and see what others are doing in terms of training these days. Given that in most countries mass participation events are still not allowed, we are planning actually a second virtual race also to take place before the end of 2020. More on that in the coming weeks. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and happy. Enjoy your weekend and see you soon.